Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here, and welcome to my thoughts on the Airfix range for 2026. So I'm going to go through and do a little bit of a breakdown. Everything that I show you in this video is believed to be correct at the time of release. Obviously details may change without notice, and the information is only as good as I've managed to find it myself. I am going to mix this up a little bit this year because I've been doing this like as a tradition now for about 5 years, where I would break down the Airfix range announcement in more detail. Because Airfix simply didn't. However, it would appear now that Airfix give us the information that I probably would have presented. So I'm going to change it up a little bit and not dive so deeply. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to let them take more of the, the reins of their own product range. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing that they've decided to up their game. But this will be more of a discussion on my thoughts and some of the kits I like and some of the kits I don't like. Also, I suppose it's good to see this presented in a different format. So obviously, if this video isn't for you, you can go and watch the official announcement instead. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Airfix Club. Airfix technically talked about this in their announcement. They don't normally mention it as part of their new range because they announce this before it starts, but I'm going to mention it anyway. So this year, they've gone for like the 100th anniversary of the Swedish Air Force. As you can see on the screen here, they've done a double boxing, which contains a Viggen and a Tiger Moth. Of course, these are very interesting looking aircraft, but I have seen online some complaints that this isn't a particularly accurate aircraft for this particular type of Viggen, because the Airfix one is a bit of an older tooling. Technically, I think it would be a vintage classics kit and may not be up to like the modern standards. But 2026 is the year of positivity. So from where I'm sitting, they've done something a little bit unusual. They're highlighting an event from another nation, sort of celebrating that country and their achievements. And do you know what? I think it will be an interesting model to have a go at building. If you're not aware of the Airfix Club, though, just be aware that this is a limited edition product that is only purchasable to people who joined the Airfix Club. So for that reason, moving forward, I'm not going to actually count it as part of the range when I do my analysis at the end. But let's move on to the new releases. I'm not going to make you wait until the end of the video if you just want to find out what was brand new. We're going to go straight into that. So we've got a couple of new releases this year. Quite exciting releases, actually. We've got a 1/48 scale Phantom, which I'm sure is going to be absolutely massive. I've seen some of the CAD renderings and it looks amazing. We've got a Junkers Ju-52, which again has loads of detail, and the English Electric Canberra. So they've done a good variety here. The Phantom is 1/48th, the Junkers Ju-52 and the Canberra are 1/72nd. I mean, they're probably quite large aircraft anyway. But yeah, Airfix are doing a good job, I think, of new tooling things. So I think these are going to be very popular. Personally, I kind of would like the Junkers, but I know that it's probably going to be a bit complicated to build with all the detail they've put into the engines. I know that the Phantoms tend to have lots of stencils, so I probably might avoid that one. And also, I imagine it being quite big. Canberra, maybe. You can see that the Canberra is quite competitively priced. Of course, it's 1/72nd scale. The Ju-52 is a little bit more expensive, and actually the McDonnell Douglas Phantom is a bit more expensive as well. But they haven't just focused on aircraft this year. They have got one new tooling for a Saracen as well in 1/35th scale, which does look pretty decent. I'm sure that will be popular with armor modelers. Personally, not really my bag, but never say never. They did technically announced the 1/24th scale Messerschmitt Bf-109G at Telford in November, but they technically count it as part of this range, so I'm going to mention it here. Brand new 1/24th scale kit, very impressive detail on that one, but I have done more detailed looks at that particular kit, so we're just going to move forwards. Something else that's worth talking about is the fact that they're bringing in some more masking sheets. I don't have all of them here, but they are going to be producing more masking sheets for the variety of different aircraft that they've got in their range this year. If you like to build your model kits and protect the plastic when you're painting them, these are going to be great add-ons for that. So it's nice to see them branching out into the accessories area. Let's move on to gift sets. Well, I say gift sets a little bit loosely this year. Normally a gift set is a product which contains paint and cement and things. Actually, I'm going to use the slightly more looser term sets in this particular video this year. And there's a reason for that, because some of these probably don't come with paints and glue, but they come with other things. So the first thing is they're introducing a new Legends range, which is based off of famous pilots or figures from history, and they've decided to kick this one off with a 1/48 scale legend based on Douglas Bader, the famous RAF pilot. And inside of this 1/48 scale kit you're going to get 3 models, all of which were flown by Douglas Bader. You've got a Bristol Bulldog, a Hawker Hurricane and a Spitfire Mark IIA. So that will probably be quite popular, and if you wanted 3 different aircraft in one boxing, this is probably a cost-effective way of doing it. I may not go for this one personally, because I probably have too many kits to build and I don't need an excuse to buy 3 in one go. Moving on, we've got some more sets. Some of these are more traditionally gift sets. They come with paint and cement. I don't think the middle one is, but the other 2 definitely are. We've got a Pearl Harbor 85th anniversary, which contains a variety of different aircraft from that conflict. We've got a Swedish Air Force, which comes with loads of different aircraft. We've got Mustang, Gladiator, Spitfire, Vampire, and the Viggen. I think the majority of those toolings are fairly recent, apart from the Viggen. I think the only one in there which technically would be like a vintage classic is the Viggen tooling, whereas the rest of them are more modern. I think maybe the oldest is like 2009 tooling, but don't quote me on that. And then also we have the Lunar Lander gift set as well. Then I'm going to move on. We've got something that they're also doing new this year. I really like the concept of this particular part of the range. So this features a Typhoon with a prop aircraft of some kind. So we've got the Typhoon in its blackjack scheme on the left, and it's matched with a Tucano. The Tucano again is a slightly older tooling. I think it's like a late 90s or a very early noughties. I've built one, but it's still a pretty nice kit, and it does come with recessed panel lines. Moving on, we've got a Hawker Hurricane paired with the Typhoon, which has the sort of commemorative Battle of Britain colours. And then moving on, we've got Moggy, which is a Hawker Typhoon and a Eurofighter Typhoon paired together in their commemorative paint schemes. I think these are going to be popular. I could be tempted for maybe the blackjack version. I presume the Eurofighter in these boxings is the starter set version, so it should be a fairly pleasant and simple kit to build. Moving on, we also have a gift set for Sinking the Bismarck, and this comes with paints and glues and things. It is in the small scale of 1 to 1200, but as you can see on the screen there, you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're getting 7 different ships in there, so that would be quite an interesting thing to have a go at, maybe to make a little diorama of all of these ships engaged in combat. That's it for sets. I'm going to move on to re-releases, and these are just the kits that they have in the range, but they're bringing back in some way. And something that people have been begging for is making a reappearance, and that is the 1/24 scale Grumman F6F Hellcat. This is a 2019 tooling. I built one of these not last year but the year before, and the problem is that the prices on the second-hand market have been going out of control because it's not been seen in the range since 2019. It is a very impressive kit. It has a good level of detail. The only thing I would say is watch out for some fit of the parts. Make sure you dry fit if you're going to build this one, because it can be a bit tricky in places. And you can see that it's coming in at $149.99. Definitely going to help with those second-hand prices on the second-hand market, because it's going to bring them down. But this time it's coming back with new paint schemes. So I don't need another Hellcat. I kind of want one, but I've already done one, so I probably will let other people have a go at this one and see what they manage to achieve. We do have another couple of re-releases. We've got the Stalwart coming back, but this time with new parts, and we've got the Cromwell as well in 1/35th, again with new parts. Vehicles, not really my bag. I have heard good things about the Stalwart, so I could be tempted. I would probably be more inclined to go for the Cromwell and maybe make a diorama, but personally these aren't really my vibe at the moment. So moving on, we've got some more re-releases. It's no surprise that when they announced the Jaguar, I think it was last year, the single seat version came out, and now we've got a 2-seat version. So of course that makes sense. We also have the Sea King coming out in its search and rescue scheme, which makes sense as well, because when it was originally released, people go, well, where's the search and rescue version? Well, it's here now. It's no surprise it was going to come. And then the Fairy Gannet is making a reappearance as well. Some of these have got new parts and new paint schemes, so definitely worth checking them out if you're interested. I could be interested in the Jaguar, but once again, I'm not sure I have enough time or space for it. Moving on to a couple more kits in 1/48, we've got the Blenheim Mark 1 and the JU87 coming back. I've not attempted either of these. I do quite like the look of the Blenheim, but again, time and space and all that jazz. Something that is probably not a surprise. I mean, it's nice to see it, but it's the Special Duties Lysander. So the Lysander is a 2024 release. It's very impressive. I've got one to build, but now they've brought it back with its special duties stuff. So it's got like the ladder for climbing in, it's got the extended range tank underneath the fuselage, and it also comes with a figure for an SOE operative. The Vampire's coming back too. I've never had a go at the Vampire. I kind of want to, but I probably won't get it anytime soon. I've got so many projects to focus on. Something I would like to have a go at actually is the Shackleton. That's coming back in 1/72 scale. I've heard quite good things about this. It's quite a big and impressive kit. So too actually is the B-25 Mitchell, which is joining it, but probably if I had to pick, I'd probably go for the Shackleton. And then we're moving on to slightly smaller aircraft. We've got the Nighthawk making an appearance, and the Nighthawk is a bit questionable to me. I know they're bringing it back with all these new fancy paint schemes, but I wonder if this is actually like a 1992 tooling. Perhaps it should be a Vintage Classics. I don't know. I've always assumed it was like the cutoff was before that. Was, you know, like 2000s was when the cutoff was. So I wonder if they've decided that it looked better in a boxing like this. They may have slightly broken their own rules there. The Kate is coming back though as well. I have a Kate in the stash to build, not that paint scheme. I think it was the limited edition Airfix Club one from many years ago, but I have seen this quite nice kit. And now we move on to a couple more. So interestingly, I was actually talking to someone about the Airfix Sabre in 1/72 scale, about how it had its initial release in like 2010, and then we never saw it again after that point. This is like the second time we will have seen it in all of that time, which is crazy because they did a brand new tooling and then one release and that was it. Or maybe, you know, a couple of releases at that time, and then it was just gone. It does look to be quite a nice kit, perhaps a little bit more simple compared to other kits that you would get today. It's not quite up to today's standards, but still a very nice kit from what I can tell. The Wildcat is a nice little kit as well, and the P40 is coming back with a couple of different paint schemes for Pearl Harbor. I love the P40. It's one of my favourite kits to build. However, I probably won't get one because I already did one in Pearl Harbor colours. If you're into 1/76 scale vehicles, then you've got a couple, well, a triple coming back for that. We've got a Vickers light tank, a Saracen, and a refueler. Of course, the scale is slightly off. These are more like model railway 00 gauge scales, back from when Airfix probably did that. I presume that because they're not part of the Vintage Classics range, that means that they're more modern, but obviously that they were still in a slightly odd scale. The refueler, of course, probably could pair it with 1/72 scale aircraft. It would look a little small, but I think to the casual observer you wouldn't notice it. So I could be tempted to go for the refueler and put it into a diorama perhaps. That's it for the re-releases. Let's move on to Vintage Classics. This is the range of kits which Airfix says, yep, they're old toolings. Let's tell you that they're old toolings, and you can have a bit of a nostalgia hit when you come to build them. So we've got a couple of interesting aircraft coming back. We've got the Catalina. The Catalina does look really interesting. This was actually a kit that I wanted when I was a kid. I do believe that there's probably better, more recent toolings out there from other companies, but of course, if you want to have that nostalgia sort of hit, then absolutely go for one of these. I did build the Skyvan as a child though, and I remember that being a fairly decent build, and I think this time around you're getting an extra paint scheme for it. And the hovercraft, people always ask for the hovercraft. I kind of want to have a go at the hovercraft. It would be cool to put it in a diorama as like shown on the box there with it loading and unloading, but again, time, money, all these things get in the way. There are 3 more aircraft coming back in Vintage Classics. We've got an Avro 504K, which is the old traditional biplane trainer aircraft. Quite popular. Quite a lot of people have asked for that to come back, but they've also asked for new toolings as well. But you know, it's £6, so it's not going to be. It's like a pocket money kit, that one. Then we have a diner as well. That is something I could be tempted to go and get, but I may not rush out and get one right at the moment. I need to clear a bit of my stash first. The Dauntless, though, the Dauntless is actually a fairly nice build. I did build one many years ago when it was last in the range. It's relatively pleasant. Obviously, it's a slightly older tooling, so it does suffer a little bit in places with detail and things. But if you're looking for something to just sort of mess around with, that's not a bad kit, to be honest. We do have some figures coming back in Vintage Classics as well. All of the ones on the screen here are 1/32 scale. You'll notice that the 2 on the left are a little bit more expensive, and I believe that's because they're multi-pose, whereas the ones on the right, the Commandos, I don't think they're multi-pose. I think they're, you know, set poses. Personally, not really my bag, but I can see why people would want to have a go at them. Perfect for dioramas. We do have some sort of match ups going on as well. We've got the Romans and the Ancient Britons coming back, which I think would be quite fun, especially if you're into making little scenes and stuff. I'm not sure that I would, but you know, you never say never. And then to go along with that, we've got Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham, which would be quite fun to see someone making a diorama. We do have sets of these as well. The Romans are coming back with like a fort set, and then the Robin Hood and Sheriff are coming back with a castle set. I don't know specifically the contents. I presume there will be like elements of diorama in there. There will be like a fort of some sort because it says Roman fort in there. So I am presuming that there is like parts for that. So interesting. I don't know. I mean, if I was going to pick one of these, I'd probably go for the Romans because that would be an interesting build to me. Let's move on to ships. Ships are coming back, and we don't often see that many ships, but actually this year, if you like ships, you're well catered for. So we've got a variety of different ones. We've got HMS Prince in 180 scale, and then a lot of 1/600 scale ships as well. HMS King George V, Prince Eugen. I'm going to move through them quickly. We've got Scharnhorst, HMS Nelson, HMS Cossack, HMS Suffolk, and that brings us into vehicles. I'll just go back. So the cheapest one there, I think, is HMS Cossack at £6.99. The rest of them are all a little bit more expensive, but it is interesting that people have asked for ships, and obviously they've listened. I think people would prefer new tool ships, but you know, sometimes you can't beat a classic, can you? So ships are quite well catered for this year in the Vintage Classics range. And then that brings us into Vintage Classics vehicles. And we have the Crash Recovery set, which has come back, which would be perfect for dioramas. I am tempted, but I guess we'll have to see what the year holds. We do have the infantry tank Matilda coming back too, and we do have some more tanks such as the Centurion, the Leopard, and the Chieftain. Armour isn't massively my thing, so I probably will be giving these a bit of a pass. But I can definitely see why people would like to have a go at them. Quick builds. So technically Airfix didn't announce a quick build during their range announcement, but there is one on their website, and they're bringing back their Eurofighter in the Blackjack scheme, which kind of makes sense because that would match the actual plastic model kit. Quick builds, if you don't know, are like snap together construction blocks. And that is pretty much it. So I'm going to do a quick summary like I always do, but as mentioned, I didn't go into as much detail as normal. I just kind of shared my thoughts. Some of those kits, very excited for. I mean, I would love to do the Hellcat again, especially in different paint schemes, but I really shouldn't because of how big it is. The Jaguar, the Lysander, I haven't even built my original Lysander yet, so it just get around to things eventually. A couple of the Vintage Classics definitely would be something I could consider having a go at. But let's just break this down for a little bit. So we have 4 aircraft and 1 vehicle in the new tool section. I have included the BF-109 in there, and actually that's exactly the same as last year. Last year, 2025, they were the same. There was 4 aircraft and 1 vehicle. In the re-releases section, we've got 15 aircraft, 8 sets, 5 vehicles, and 1 quick build. So the re-release aircraft is actually down from last year. There were 18 last year, so we were a little bit lower. And vehicles are down as well. There were 8 vehicles last year, and there's 5 this time. But the total number of products is actually up. Vintage Classics, I think, has pulled up the range and the amount of numbers that are currently there. So like last year, I don't think there was any ships, there was no hovercrafts, and the figures, I don't think there were any figures either. So actually there's quite a lot of things that they've included here. I wonder if they've invested a bit more in the new parts as well for the other re-releases, so like the Jaguar, the Lysander, etc. They could be offsetting having more Vintage Classics as releases rather than investing in new tools, because they've got new parts for kits that are only just been released as well. So that's my thoughts, is that they've released new parts for new toolings, or relatively new toolings. So in total then, that brings us to 61 products, which actually is up over the previous 2 years, because in the previous 2 years we had 43, both in 2024 and 2025. So we've got more kits in the range this year. This, of course, this figure does not include the Airfix Club kit, and nor does it include all of those masks. I haven't counted them. So that is pretty much it. What do you think you will get? What did you think of the range this year? I think there's going to be quite a lot of happy modelers, but again, you know, Airfix can't make everybody happy. There will undoubtedly be things that people wanted to see and they didn't. Interestingly, there were no new tool Spitfires. Actually, the number of Spitfires was quite low. I think the Spitfires, the only Spitfires that were there were the ones that were included in the sets. So yeah, that's an interesting thought to leave this on. So I think it's probably time to wrap this one up. There's a few bits in that range that I've got my eye on. I don't think it was too bad. I think it was actually quite good. And I'm sure quite a lot of people will be satisfied with the offerings this year. As always, a quick shout out to my Model Club members for the extra support they give the channel. Massive thanks to these guys on screen. And if you'd like to join them or support the channel in other ways, please do feel free to check out the links in the description. Of course, the best way to support this channel for free and see more content like this is by subscribing with notifications turned on, so you never miss a modelling upload. If you'd like to find out more about the Airfix range, please do check out Airfix official video. They have some extra bits and pieces in there, and also our friend Moz, who managed to have a chat with Dale, the head of brand, and share some thoughts over what was coming out. Last thing to say though is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll catch you on the workbench again next time.